When I first heard Nocturne, I remember the outro had a special feeling, and the more I listened to it, the more I seemed to love listening to it. I decided to work it out and discover why, and in today's episode, I'll break it down for you so that we can all appreciate it better. The main riff is very syncopated, and by syncopated, I mean that more notes are on the upbeat rather than the downbeat. This rhythm appears once, is cut shorter, then appears another time. To make it even more syncopated and disorienting, these two downbeats are actually omitted. So there is only one downbeat in this entire phrase of music. It makes sense to house it in 2 bars of 4/4, 2 bars of 3/4, and 2 bars of 4/4. Let's have a listen to this riff with a quarter note click so you know exactly how to feel it. Moving on to the drum groove, we have the usual kick drum follows the entire riff. Hi-hat plays quarter notes. The snare seems a little random, but I'll explain what's going on later. For now, we'll just add it in to hear the first iteration of this groove. Let me demonstrate that groove and all its embellishments. In the second iteration of the groove, the right-hand quarter note pattern is replaced with a grouping of 3/8 on the right cymbal. So I'm going to change the time signature to 6 bars of 3/4 and 1 bar of 4/4 to better house this grouping of 3. You can see these 6 snares are on the downbeat together with the grouping of 3, and the rest, I suspect, are just added in at different places to create some rhythmic contrast. If they were all in the same place, there would be more of a monotony to it. And since the riff is purposely trying to blur the beat orientation, it makes sense for the snares to try to go along with that. I also think it's not that important to bar the song the correct way. In the first place, it's meant to be slightly ambiguous with the way the music is constructed. So whatever barring method helps you understand this better is the way you should approach it. Anyway, let's hear what the groove sounds like. These next 3 iterations are where things start to get really interesting. Those groupings of 3 that just got introduced in the last section, they now move 1 eighth note later, then another eighth note later, and yet another eighth note later. The rhythm is essentially playing Catch Me If You Can. This is a truly subtle effect, and I honestly didn't notice it until what must be the 50th listen to the song. Even though it's subtle, the workload for the drummer is intense, and this is the part of the outro where I had to practice the most. So after all the shenanigans with the groupings of 3, it's suddenly removed in the next iteration, now replaced with a regular backbeat. And for the final iteration, we have a halftime backbeat. When you reach these 2 final iterations, it feels as if a veil has been lifted off the music due to the familiarity of a regular backbeat that just anyone can relate to unless you are from an alternate universe where a backbeat isn't a common thing. So when you consider the entire journey of the outro, first it gives you a mystery to solve. How do I make sense of the riff, or the kick and snare? And before you're sure, it inserts another layer of mystery with the new groupings of 3. You catch up to it thinking you know what's happening, only to have it run away multiple times. And just as things reach the pinnacle of a boiling point, the answer arrives in your lap, rewarding you for sticking with the journey and its amazing ride. And that's essentially storytelling with rhythm. Throughout these groove changes, the rest of the music goes through 4 phases as well. The drum groove also changes tonal color a lot, starting lighter on the hi-hats, morphing to the more sustained ping of the right, increasing in strength to the bell of the right, reaching boiling point with the crash, and finally simmering down but still having a good bite with the stack cymbal. The choice of drum tones make even more sense now when you consider those changes that the music has went through and how the drums complement it. All that means the groove morphs a total of 9 times, through tonal changes or rhythmic changes, and sometimes both. Finally, I will play the entire outro for you, and remember you can use YouTube's speed function to slow it down if you want to practice along with me at a more comfortable pace. You can find more of these TesseracT mighty morphing atmospheric instrumental outros in Exile and Smile. A whole other series of videos can be dedicated to these other TesseracT songs and their spectacular outros, which I feel is the thing that makes TesseracT really special for me. If you enjoyed this video and would like to support my work, you can purchase a PDF or t-shirt from my store. You can also donate on my Ko-fi page. I'm looking to upgrade my 7-year-old camera to a modern one capable of 4K video, so any amount you donate will help me reach that goal. In the meantime, don't stop dreaming and don't stop drumming.